on silent?
No, but it's good enough. It's on vibrate. I got people calling me left and right, dude. It's spring.
And it's Coach Aaron.
True.
Cochran?
Cochran. Okay. That's why we ask.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
I get it a lot. It's the way it's pronounced.
Is it?
It was actually Cockerham from Cockerham Village, England, until a few generations ago. Somebody stupid or got in trouble, whichever.
Yeah.
Changed it, but
Now you got to change it.
yeah.
I love looking
Brad
back at the
Cochran.
history like that, and you're like, how the hell?
That's
Like,
one of the places we went when we were in England. We found out that's on our route, so we stopped in this
Oh,
little
that's cool.
abbey where my family came over from.
That's so
Oh,
cool.
no way.
Yeah, it was
That's
cool.
awesome.
And how do you spell? How do you pronounce your company?
Vertices.
Vertices.
That
Brad
wasn't
Cochran,
me. That was the children.
Vertices.
Yeah.
Vertices.
I have all daughters, and it was Cochran and Associates, and they said, Dad, there are no more Cochrans. It can't keep being Cochran and Associates. So I changed that.
Dang.
Dang.
Generation
That's kind of
down.
heartbreaking right there to think about. Like, oh, not really. I've always wanted to change the name of my initials. Let's move on to something else. You know, Vertices, that seems easily sellable.
Did
Yeah.
you fill out?
ARC Outdoorsman is pretty like
Did you complete a guest form?
Yeah, I think so.
I thought he did too.
slacking. It's okay. It's Friday. dude.
Slacking.
It's
I'm
been
not
it's
slacking.
been brutal.
It's been brutal.
Oh, the last few weeks has been brutal in a good way. I mean, the phone's ringing like crazy.
Shoot, there it
Everybody's
is. All right, I got it.
all things, but it's the spring rush is here.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's overwhelming, but it's nice. Just takes a month or two to kind of get back into the rhythm after being off for winter.
No more Christmas lights.
Should I read off his bio he sent in?
Let's read it.
That'd be a good little intro.
I can do the intro unless you want to take a turn.
No, go for it. You're boss
He's like,
man.
that's not my thing.
You're boss man.
Devin's been rolling, man.
Oh, you've been rolling.
Brad
this whole time?
Cochran is a seasoned professional with a master's in accounting and financial management and a distinguished certified valuation analyst credentialed to his name. Welcome to the stage.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I didn't write that.
All right.
AI generated.
Yeah.
That's probably my son-in-law.
Wow.
He's the marketing guy.
There you go.
The marketing guy. All right, you ready? Devin's rolling, huh?
All right. So, Brad,
Brad.
tell us a little bit about what Vertices does. How did you get into this? What is what you do?
Vertices, forward-facing, client-facing, is primarily an accounting firm. So we have accounting firm locations in Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Moore, Dallas, and Sacramento.
Okay.
Started it in 2018, late 17, early 18. And it came about from I like to start companies. And we had started maybe at that time 35 or so. And
Oh, 35.
my wife got
35 or you got
casually
started at
35.
What's that?
You started 35 companies or
Yeah,
you
we
got started at
we've
30?
started 35 companies. And
Jeez.
it was around that time my wife said,
How many are still around?
and
7? Is that because they
we've started
closed or
40.
sold?
We've started 45 now. Some of both.
Okay.
Yep, some of both. Is around in 2017. That was when my wife said, "Don't start another one," because I don't like them that well once they're operational. When they're running, they're boring to me. You know, getting all the upstart going and overcoming the hurdles, turning them around, that's exciting. But after that, you're just
Yeah.
stamping letters, and it's boring. So
you're more
So
into
she was running them, and she got really pissed. She had like 7 of them running, and she's like, "This is not going to work for me." So
That's awesome.
we decided to start this. We started Vertices. It was Cochran and Associates at the time, so that I could go help other companies, but she didn't have to go run them. And it wasn't our investment, and our time, and then she ended up, managing them. So that's how it started.
What kind of companies?
Oh, all over the place,
What industries? Like,
all over the place.
What's your favorite industry?
I don't
a
business.
two-part question
It's
now.
business.
Yeah.
We had a cigar store. That was one of my favorite. I had a huge office right by a humidor. It was really nice.
Nice.
That was fun. And then in the back, we had a place called the Library. It was in Western Oklahoma, still there, called the Library. And it was just a big, dark. It was built in the 20s building, so it had brick walls, wood raftered ceilings, dark curtains, leather recliners everywhere. Put on some Frank Sinatra about 2 p.m, go back there, do some invoicing, smoke a cigar, have a scotch. So that was my favorite office. But
That's my type of office. I just
yeah.
need plants everywhere.
yeah, so
You know, that fills me. That's awesome.
done that. We've done airplanes. We had an airplane dealership, airplane training school, airplane maintenance shop, construction companies, owned an oil and gas company, a lot of different industries. My daughter started a bakery, just sold it in Oklahoma City.
So did you start
Cleaning
here in
companies.
Tulsa, or did you start in Oklahoma City? Or?
No, the first business we started was in Denver. My wife's from Denver. So we met here in Oklahoma, spent a year in Denver, started a consulting company out there, and
Nice.
it kind of rolled from there.
Were you born here?
I was born, in Chickasha.
Oh, that's cool. Okay. What's your favorite industry?
I don't really have a favorite industry. I like business. Business
Right.
is a hobby. It's a passion to me and a hobby as well. I have some industries I don't like that much, but I don't necessarily have a favorite.
That's quick. That's kind of what I've said about marketing. A lot of people have been like, just stay in one industry. And I'm like, it's boring. Like
Yeah.
if I just did the same thing for the same industry day in and day out. And plus, it's almost like in one perspective, one could argue it's a liability just being in that one industry. If that something happens and it tanks,
Sure.
you're out, and so is everyone else behind you. Yeah. So
Agreed. People talk about accounting all the time, and I do a lot of the onboarding or initial client interviews for the people that we take on, and I always hear, "Oh, you don't understand my industry." I'm like, then you don't understand accounting and finance. That language is universal. It applies to every business. Your business can be as unique as you want it to be. It still has to follow the rules of accounting and the rules of finance. Marketing still applies to a company regardless of what they do.
it's the same challenge. It's what do you do? Who are you trying to target? Get their attention.
Yeah. And that's always my primary question. Are the questions that start to our company always start with, how can you help me? And my answer is always, I have no idea, because I have no idea what you want. I mean, businesses are as unique as their owners.
Right.
What's your intention?
Right.
Do you want to own one shoe store on Main Street? Or do you want to put a shoe store on every Main Street? Those are completely different objectives with completely different business plans and models. And what do you want? So
That's awesome.
I want another location. Actually, I want three.
three?
I want three in total in the next 10 years. I want to put one out in California, San Diego, Los Angeles, somewhere big, or maybe even, I don't want to go further north. I have connections in San Diego, so that's why I said that. That's just first thought. One here. It's in the middle between that and then all the way out in the East Coast. So somewhere North Carolina-ish. I've got connections there. I don't want to hit up New York. It's too expensive. Carolinas will still kind of align with Oklahoma to some degree.
Yeah.
Expenses and type of people and stuff like
Values,
that
yeah.
too. So that would be my next place to go to. So have an office here, an office there, and one out in the West Coast.
So
I think between all of those, we can divide and conquer and still stay kind of regionally, I guess. Because like there's clients that like we'll service down in Texas or Kansas or Oklahoma, Missouri, right, or Arkansas. Like that's happened over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
But we've had some clients out in California or even like Georgia and Florida. But if I'm a little closer to them, or if I've got another office that can be, I don't know, hey, it's not a
little more
it's a
hands-on.
3-hour flight or 2-hour
Right.
drive. It's fine.
Yeah. And the personal side matters a lot in business. I have this argument with my daughters because they're a different generation, and they've talked a lot about the world's going to be remote. I'm like, babe, no, it's not. It's never going to be. If it was possible to be remote, business would have figured this out a long time ago, and we would not be paying for brick and mortar because brick and mortar is expensive.
Yeah, people wouldn't have a private jet and fly across the world just to sit down with you.
And I wouldn't build an office building like Devin did that cost $700 million to house everybody if
Yeah.
it wasn't more efficient to have everybody right here. Remote is niche. We made it popular for a minute, and look at what happened to a lot of these the video conferencing stock prices after COVID left. And the businesses are saying you got to get back to work. And the reason is those businesses' productivity went to crap because I don't know what you're doing at home all day, and you got a monitor on, and it's a blank screen, and you're doing dishes, and I can't walk down the hall and say I need this report and I need to collaborate. So now let's put our heads together right now.
Yeah,
Right.
I'll see you in 10 minutes in the conference room. Let's
Yeah,
hash
it
it
just
out.
doesn't happen. So I'm convinced that remote will never be the wave of the future. I think it'll be an it'll
aspect
stay
of it.
around, and there's certain jobs that lend themselves to working
Right.
out okay remote.
good luck remote landscaping.
Yeah, that's tough.
Like that's just tough.
Can you video conference my flower garden?
Yeah,
That'd be
right.
cool.
I mean, you can remotely operate equipment. It's not feasible for the average contractor yet, but even then, it's like, well, you still got to get out and do shovel work. Like, there's only so much you can do before you got to just pick up a shovel and get in there. Like, there's like you said, there's definitely niches where it will become prominent or already is and will stay that way. But I definitely agree with you, and I think even more after COVID, I think in that moment everybody was like, yeah, okay, remote, and it was exciting, and it was almost like I'm going to prove to you guys that I can be just as efficient at home as I am at the office, right? And then once you're kind of settling in and everything, you start to realize like it's kind of hard to balance that blend between family and home if you don't have that dedicated space. And like for me personally, I can't work at home.
Me neither.
If I'm at home, I love my kids too much. I love my wife too much, and they're kind of priority. Work,
And my couch
silent.
is right there.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Exactly. You know, and it's there's nothing wrong with that, but you know, within a certain realm, it's just not feasible. You know, and I think once COVID kind of started opening back up, it actually kind of reinforced the fact that like business is a people to people thing. Like people want to see each other. I was networking in the middle of COVID, and I joined a group that strictly the only reason they met was because we still met in person.
Yeah.
We weren't go Zoom. And I was like, okay, I want to meet with these people. For one, F you to the man. But two, is like, hey, I like these people because business is a whole relationship thing. And then afterwards, everybody's coming out of it. It's like, oh, God, man, I kind of missed all this. And this is like, yeah, right.
I was depressed. Depression went up. Suicides went up. It was not a great time.
Right.
So the new client that we got this morning, she met with me 2 days ago, 3 days ago, Tuesday, whatever, it's Friday, something like that. A few days ago, this week. She drove 3 hours from Waynoke, Oklahoma. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, there's probably like 200 people in the whole town. And so she drove all the way out to meet with me. But that just goes to show the importance of
In person.
name to the face and a personal touch, right? Connection.
Yeah, it's where I think business is about people. People are about relationships. That's
So-
usually the first line when I walk into a new
Yes.
company. Business is about people. People are about relationships. If you get that, you'll understand business. If not, you'll be here for just a minute.
Is it ever just business?
No.
No?
No.
Elaborate.
How can just business with who? With
You know, you've heard that statement. It's just business.
I hear that all the time. And what
Okay.
that means is I'm being a dick. I don't want you to call me on it.
Yeah.
I'm being an asshole. Just business. No,
This is just
it's
how it
not.
is.
You're being not a people person. You're not saying the business has a need. I understand you have a need, and those needs don't intersect. So we have to go a different direction. That's the people approach. You're fired. It's just business. I'm an asshole. That's what I just said.
That's a good point. Man,
I've always said it's never just business. Like,
agree.
So in order for me to do business with you, in order for you to trust me, for me to trust you, like that's personal. We have to build a relationship,
Agreed.
right? Okay.
I think all business is based on relationships. And good business and long-term business always is. How long you guys been in? What's your longest relationship? I've been married 28 years now. That's
10
other
years.
than my parents. What's your longest friendship relationship?
10, 12 years.
More than 10 years.
18 years.
Crap's happened,
Friendship.
Oh, yeah.
and you've been
friendship
at fault, and
Oh,
they've
yeah.
been at fault.
Both parties.
And in business, when I have a reason not to trust you financially already, and you have a reason to suspect me financially already, if I don't have the relationship, the first time crap goes bad, we don't work together anymore. I lose business because I didn't build the people side. I didn't build a relationship. But when I screw something up in a business, and I walked into your office before and said, hey, we screwed this up. Here's how we're going to fix it. Here's the part of the cost we're going to cover for screwing it up. Here's what we're going to put in place to make sure we don't screw this up in the future because your business is important to me. The next time something goes bad, you trust me. The next time something goes bad, you ask me, did you do this or did we do this? Because you know I already told on myself.
Yeah.
I'm obviously going to tell on myself.
Yeah.
And it creates the relationship of trust that says these people are here because they're going to take good care of me.
Right.
I tell everybody my first interest is me. It has to be. My second interest is you. If I make sure that I'm healthy and I'm good, I can see clearly to make sure you're good. If I'm struggling and dying over here and I can't put 2 nickels together to pay rent, I got to get nickels from wherever I can. I'm not going to make the best decisions for you because I got to make decisions for me to survive.
Right. Right.
Once I'm healthy, and my job is to make sure I'm healthy, now I can help you be healthy, and it can be co-symbiotic.
It's just like the mask dropping in the airplane. Put yours on before you help someone put theirs on, right?
And if you're dead, you can't help them.
Help them.
Right.
That's true.
So you have 25 years. 25 years of a lot of hands-on experience in business and a wide variety of industries. Don't necessarily have a favorite. You did mention a little bit ago that you did some podcasting for a little while.
Right.
What was that about? What was that like? Why did you stop?
Time. It was a fad industry. My wife and I are explorers by nature. So we met in seminary, we met in Bible college. And then we starting companies. And then I was a cop for a while, a police officer, then I went into oil and gas, and oil and gas really spun off a lot of companies because there was more income and more opportunity. And then we got into podcasting in This is not business topic at all, kind of. In 2016, 17, 18, somewhere in there. That was 2010. It was earlier than that. My wife, who grew up in church and very, very, very secluded, discovered that she liked being, she was an exhibitionist. She liked being sexy. She's a sexy lady, but she would never say that. So we started taking photos and putting some on like Tumblr way back in the day. And that led to a friend of ours said, you guys should really start an OnlyFans. We're like, we're not doing OnlyFans. That's just stupid. We're just
That's
having fun.
awesome.
So one night we started OnlyFans and we woke up and we're making $20,000 a month.
Oh shit.
So I'm like, this is stupid. That's where the podcast came from. People were asking us all the time, how'd you go from seminary to an OnlyFans? We're like, we're just exploring. We're just having fun.
Right.
Just checking it out. So we started a podcast, and the podcast did really well. Had a lot of fun doing it, but it just became too much. It became, we didn't have the time.
Yeah.
Right. You
Our
couldn't
businesses
explore
are
your
growing,
passions.
and
right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why we meet every other week now.
Yeah.
Because every Friday it just got too much.
yeah.
you
we
just
did it every
couldn't
Friday,
quite
man.
do it.
Yeah.
Well, and we were, because of the nature of us, I want to touch it. So if we're doing podcasting,
Tangible.
I want to record it. I want to cut it. I want to build the intro. I don't know anything about art.
Yeah.
I'm on Canva going, oh, that looks shitty. Oh, that's cool. I think that'll work.
Sounds like me. I'm like, yeah, just send me the pictures. Like, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
It looks good, doesn't look good, but I don't want to mess with it.
Yeah. So we did that. Did a lot of fun. Had a YouTube channel. Had a podcast on all the platforms, and then said, we're tired. This has got to stop.
So the last two episodes, we spoke with a gentleman out of California who is a chiropractor. Really cool guy, but he's just getting started. Right before that, like literally the same day, right before that, we also spoke with another gentleman who got started late in his entrepreneurial career. Late as in, I'd say 50s.
50s. I think he said 56.
You know, like a
Yeah.
lot of people when they're like, oh, I started when I was 30 or 20 or 15 or whatever. Like I started when I was 4. I don't know, whatever. Right? But a lot of people get, feel like that they're late behind the game. Like if they get started late and things like that. So it's very interesting to me to like speak with one, like I said, the guy from California who's a year in business. It's just him. And he hasn't done 6 figures yet. And, then you have this other guy where it's hundreds of millions of dollars, and he's turned that around in less than 5 years.
Yeah.
Isn't that right?
Yeah.
Okay, and he's now 10 years into his entrepreneurial game, and he's on his 4th company selling it, I believe. And now he's doing festivals. so that's exciting. When did I want to know a little bit more about like the history and the why. So like, when did you get started and why? You've been a cop and you've had some jobs.
Yeah, the first business we started was, we had been married a year, moved to Denver, and it was necessity. And we were poor. My wife and I both
How old
grew
are you,
up
like
very
18?
poor. No, 20. We were 21 that year.
Okay.
So I was a trainer for a Microsoft certified company, training Windows and all the Office, what it was back in the day. Lotus Notes, which you guys probably never even heard of, was the precursor to an Office suite like Word and Excel and all that stuff. And it was kind of a Corel, Adobe Corel product. And I was training those things. And I met a lady who was, she was Israeli. And out of Israel, they had the first security things were dongles, USB dongles. Like you open the software, and you had to plug the
to put
dongle
a
in, it had the
key
key.
in.
Yeah. And there was a security company in Israel. And they
God,
were
I
shipping
still
stuff
hate
back and
dongles.
forth. I do too. Hate
And
'em.
adapters, oh my God, man. Like, see all the cables are,
Yeah. Can't we,
you know it
can't
too.
they just talk? So that's when it first started. We were poor. We weren't making enough money, and I started a company with her, building a database to track all their packages shipping internationally. So,
Nice.
and then from that, she was like, "Why don't you build me a web page?" I'm like, "I don't know shit about websites.
about
I bet I
websites.
could though." And
I'll figure it out.
Front Page had just come out, which was, again, you probably never heard of that. That was one of the original web page creators by Microsoft. It's called Front Page. So built them a little website, a little database, and just started consulting from there, and then started using that going into companies as helping them with software originally, because that's what I knew. I also, at the same time, I worked through high school, and then again right just after college, I worked in for PepsiCo back in the day, their restaurant division that they spun off. They sold later and called Yum Brands, and it owns like A&W and Long John Silver's, Taco Bell, KFC, all those. So I worked for that corporation. And in high school, you you're just working to make a nickel so
Right.
you can have fun on a weekend. In college and later, I was pretty good at going in and getting stores back into profit. So the first couple stores I was in, they were just struggling, and I would just go through and watch people and be like,
He's being wasteful.
I mean, this
Let's
cook
get better
has
to
spent
this.
we're in the rush.
Right.
Out of the last hour, he spent 20 minutes in the freezer looking for crap. Why don't we just stage it right here so he doesn't have to move?
Yeah.
And he can just, everything he does should be within a 2-step left or right thing, and productivity goes up, profitability goes up. Just goofy things like that. At the drive-through window, people always bitch, why don't I get one ketchup? Well, I know why. Because when that person grabs a handful 1,000 times a month,
Yeah.
you just blew food costs and you're not profitable for the month because you went through 5 cases of tartar sauce.
Oh yeah.
That
just
somebody
those kinds
didn't
of
need
things.
a handful of.
No, because they're going to throw it away.
This is going to go in
Right.
the garbage.
Like it's just trash. You're throwing away your money, literally,
Yeah.
at that point. So I've got a question. I've heard your story, kind of. Was there a moment in your life where you knew you were going to be an entrepreneur? And I say that because between ourselves, we kind of already knew when you were younger. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, something about me just kind of told me I was always going to do it. Whether you're selling stuff at school, getting in trouble doing this, whatever it is.
Yeah, I
like,
knew in high
you're just-
school.
you're just doing shit, right? And you're like, one day
Shoot.
I'm going to be the boss. I don't really know what that means, but
Right.
one day.
I knew in high school. I would have been 3rd generation military. I didn't go. I'd have gotten kicked out.
Yeah.
I don't take it in my face very well and tell me what to do very well. I'll figure it out. And I'm not trying to be obstinate or an ass. I'll take the reins and figure it out. I'll own it when it's screwed up, but I want to own it when it goes right too.
Right.
So I knew in high school that I would start my own company. I didn't know how many. I just knew I wanted to start my own company. I don't want to go in business for me.
Nice. I just wonder that because again, with us, you can look back in our stories and we all talk about it often. Where it's like there's been multiple times where you're just kind of like reassured, like, well, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I'm doing it. Like I'm here. I'm going to do it. I'm going to figure it out. And for me personally, there was a moment kind of like I kind of ended up with a little bit of money, but without a job and a baby on the way. And I'm like, fuck it, I'm going to risk it all. Like, we're just going to risk it all. And thankfully, my wife decided that was a good idea.
Yeah.
And now here we are. And I mean, life's good. Don't get me wrong. There's a struggle. We're still building. We haven't been through 40 businesses where we kind of know the ropes of it. We're still learning.
There are no ropes.
And well, you're right. They're all different.
The truth of business, there's no ropes, and there's no, you talked about the guy earlier, and probably because of the industry I'm in, I hear this all the time. I've lived in every income tax bracket now. I was scared. I was the most scared at the highest income tax bracket. It was new to me. I was scared of this. Somebody's going to take my money. I'm going to have to be poor again. I don't give a shit now. I'm going to live in a box.
All right.
I've been there. Whatever. Happiness to me is I like to have money. Don't get
Right.
me wrong.
Right.
But I'm okay without it. I need people. I need those good relationships. I need to be able to do the things I like to do. I want to go hang out with my buddies. I want to play golf with my wife. I want to be able to go see my kids. Those things are important to me.
Right.
The rest of it, it's nice. I like being able to do it. The most miserable year of mine and my wife's life was the year we sold our oil and gas company, which was the year we made the most money ever. And then we invested all that money in things. And we went through in 2021, maybe 2020. We started selling everything. Like,
Wait, why was that the worst year?
because we were miserable. We're scared all the time. We've got all this cash. We don't know what to do with it, so we're going to invest it. And we're reading all these books, and everybody says, "Put it in real estate. Put it in this. Put it in that." And you're almost.
Did you feel like
fearfully-
you had to do something with it?
Sure. Well, I know you have to. I'm a finance guy. If you put money in, the time value of money tells me money gets less every day. So I can't just leave it in cash.
Yep.
Right.
Got to do something with it. So we started investing in. We invested in a lot of real estate. That's where we started a lot of companies. Some of those companies didn't work out. They were stupid investments. Some of them worked out really well. But all of them cost time. And that's what we ended up realizing 4 or 5 years later. We're sitting at each other, looking at each other at night going, I'm tired.
just not
And she's
worth
like,
it.
I'm tired too. I'm like, we put roofs on houses this week, replaced air conditioning units, had to re-landscape our commercial property. This house needs a damn roof. Everything we had to buy insurance for the boat, and we're like, why do we have all this shit? We're not happy with all of it.
Yeah.
So why do we have it? It's because we thought that was the smart thing to
That
do.
was what was going to make you happy.
Yeah, so we started selling all that crap. We lived in a nice house in Edmond on Rose Creek Golf Course, sold all of our properties, and now we live in a condo in downtown Tulsa It's 1,100 square feet, and we're the happiest we've ever been. I mean, we can trash that place and clean it in 20 minutes.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
awesome.
Opposed to
I love
having
my
a
tiny
3,000
house.
square foot house and being like, damn, that's.
Dude, I love my 800 square foot house. It's the best thing in the world. Like I tell my kids to clean it, and they can clean it in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
My
Like,
wife,
it's great.
my wife and I, we went from an apartment that was 1,300 square feet. We have 2 boys and a 10-month-old daughter, and so each of the boys have their own room, and our daughter has her own room. Tried to blend them all 3 together in one room, won't work very well.
Yeah, no, that's tough.
I mean, good luck that you've done it. I'm proud of you.
Well, it's all 3 girls within
It's
2
all
years
3
of
girls.
each other. It's a
Yeah.
lot easier.
It's
Yeah.
not.
Just
It's not
throw 'em
2
in a room
boys at
together,
9
be
and
all
10, and then
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah. So went from 1,300 square feet to like 2,000, which isn't a drastic jump, but when it comes to like floor space and
It
you
is.
start cleaning, you're like, oh my God, this is
daunting.
a big jump.
It's
Like,
nuts.
Yeah. And so, like, especially since she's crawling and stuff and has been the last few months, and she's now going to get to the point where she walks, she puts everything in her mouth. So, like, her and I are always picking up the floor and like always vacuuming, and the boys are always getting stuff out, and so is she. You know what I mean? And like we have 2 dogs and a couple cats.
Yep.
She loves animals, and so do I. And so you know, every day, like if you skip a day of vacuuming, you'll notice definitely the second day that you're like,
Right.
we need to vacuum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're to the age now that less gets to be more, and we love it.
That's awesome, man. I love that. So I'm guessing you're just spending your time then traveling and having fun and
Not traveling. I mean, traveling mostly business. I don't enjoy travel that much. I like being there. I don't like getting there.
oh, I feel you.
God, I hate.
I always say we're just gonna have to own our own jet because I do not want to drive everywhere.
Oh, my
Like,
gosh.
this is I don't know how. I got to build a business that'll pay for a jet.
Hey,
Like I told you the other day, we got to build some garage condos so I can have a garage condo.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I don't want to pay
We
for
need
it,
to do
so
that.
we just build it, and have somebody else pay for it.
Cheaper to just build all
Right.
of them.
We'll just
Yeah.
build them all, rent them out, have our own.
Yeah.
What questions do you have for us?
So, yeah, backgrounds. I know landscaping.
So I got into business. We went to work one day and the doors were closed. My brother and I happened to have a little bit of money in the bank, which I think that was God just kind of playing some things in the right card. And we just kind of went for it. We didn't have a clue what the hell we were doing. Here we are. We're 6 years in. We've got 15 employees. Good little business. I mean, we're learning. Last year we lost our dad. It was the worst year we had ever. You mentioned the personal really does affect the business.
Mm-hmm.
It's a family-owned business, family-run business. Losing my dad, you can see it in the books, you can see it in everything. It's pathetic, but we're human. We allow ourselves to be human, and this year is honestly shaping out to be fantastic. We're super, super excited. Everybody's on the same boat, and kind of we've implemented a lot of kind of like you said. I want to be in the business. I implemented a book that I recommended to Braden, Traction, and it's
We did a whole
really
episode
helped.
on it too.
Yeah, it's
That
really
profit
changed
first.
the business for the better to where now I'm kind of trying to plan my exit plan for the business. My big lofty goal has always been financial freedom by 35, and I went the opposite direction. At first, I got rid of everything so that way I didn't have to have a big amount to be financially free. And now I'm slowly building back what will be enough to survive my family for like 5 years. So before I hit 35, I can sell or do whatever I'm going to do with my business. I haven't quite figured out what the exit plan is, but nonetheless, my plan within the next 5 years is figure out how to make this business run without me, so that way I can figure out what my next passion will be. But I'm kind of like you. We just hired my niece, and she asked me a lot of those questions. That's like, well, you always talk about like you hate going to meet with customers, you hate doing these designs, but you do it all, and you just zone out, and you do it so well. What you hate it? I was like, she was like, what do you love? I'm like, the business. Like, I just love like the business. I love building the people. I love building the relationships with people. Like, I don't know. I love the challenge. But unfortunately, we have a saying: you're gonna have to eat shit. Use the big spoon, right? And I just tell her like, I'm just really good at using the big spoon. Like, there's a fun part in there, which is building the business. But man, unfortunately, you got to do the work, and that's the sucky part. But I don't know. We'll see what my next.
You hit 2 things in there I come up again, I hear a lot, and they're interesting topics. And one is the exit, and people you've never sat there, you don't do the math. The exit is almost always not worth it. It's very rarely the exit's worth it, and you've got to hit unicorn company multiples, sell for hundreds of millions to billions for it to be worth it, because businesses are built on multiples of sales, usually multiples of net revenue. So if you sell, you may get a 5-year nut right now, what are you going to do year 6 through the rest of them? So you had that earning potential that you sold, and unless you invest the same amount of effort to get the same amount of return, which means you got to rebuild it,
Yep.
you gave away future return. That's why it makes sense for a company to buy a business. First 5 years don't make sense, but 6 through forever make a lot of sense. Well, that was your sense before you exit. And there's reasons to exit. You don't like the partnership.
Yeah, I don't like being in business with my family.
You do want to transfer into something else.
I love them, but
I understand. So that's one of the things I hear a lot. I want to exit. Well, let's talk about that exit, because you got a lot more years to live than 5.
oh yeah.
So you sell for a 5-year nut. At the end of 5 years, did you say, and most people don't, you don't go, I sold for 5 years revenue, I'm only going to spend 1/5 a year. You spend half of it the first year because you have it.
Because you're human.
Exactly. And you explore.
and marketing's fantastic, But I love that you bring that up, because that is one of the things that is my wife and I are talking about a lot recently is, well, are we going to sell though? Because I'm like, I mean, in 5 years, if I got my sales guys in place, I got my operations in place, I got to, like, why?
That becomes the next part of what always comes up. I want to run well enough I don't have to be here. And I hear a lot about the rich. And about the rich don't pay taxes, and the rich this and the rich that, and it's a rigged system. And it's not. It's simply a system most people don't understand. The way rich people don't pay, they do pay taxes. They don't pay
a lot of taxes,
and they don't pay the same percentage because they're smart. What they do is they get out of their companies as active managers, and they get out of their companies as owning more than 50%. That automatically makes that return passive. Now you're paying capital gains returns, which is 20%. If you're employed and you're making big money, you're paying 38%, 34%, 36%. It's a massive difference. And they take that money and spread it around into a bunch of businesses. They own minorities, and they don't work in on the day-to-day, so their returns are all capital gains. Now they're paying 20%. The other thing people don't understand about taxes, if you're in the top tax bracket, 36%, you're not paying 36%. You have to fill up bracket 1, which is 10%, and keep filling the brackets, and then you hit the 36%. It still sucks. It's a lot of money.
But that's only the 36 on the residual of that bracket.
That's above topping out all the other brackets.
Yeah.
So
That's the little bit of money that gets that 36.
you pay 36% on everything above, what was it, 34?
Yeah.
What was it above? We call it an effective tax rate. Most people's effective tax rate is much lower than their bracket rate. And I want to pay taxes.
Yeah. Right.
I want a badass military. I want good highways and infrastructure. I want
education
those
for
things.
your kids.
I want those
Yeah,
things.
right.
I
Well,
want.
he's homeschooled.
I'm
I mean,
using public
even certain-
resources.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
going to
I mean, there's
libraries.
even-
I'm
Yeah,
going to
libraries.
There's
national
even
parks.
supportive programs and stuff for homeschool kids, like the Noah Jaguars, and you have the YMCA stuff that does things for homeschoolers.
I
And,
want
there's
those
still
things.
grants and funds and stuff like that for those.
I
know-
would really like those people that spend my tax money to spend it like it was their pocket and not all the
Yes.
bullshit we spend it on.
They're
You
spending
wouldn't
it
have
like
to
it's
take
not
so
theirs.
much. Exactly.
I would agree with that. But you know what's funny is you say, like, I want to pay taxes, and you're within a group of people, obviously, and I think once you're a certain level of entrepreneur, I think understands, but like, yeah, I want to pay taxes, but I also understand there's a game to play.
It means
Like I want to pay those taxes, I do, but I'm also going to like take advantage of as much as I can because
and it's not again. It's vernacular. I know it's not advantage. It's the rules. I want somebody who knows the rules so that I pay what I'm supposed to pay. I don't want to donate extra.
right.
I want to pay as little as
It's
possible.
a bad investment in the government.
Because
But I
what's
wanna
that
pay-
refund? They give you a refund without any interest, but you're paying interest as soon
Yeah.
as you owe that. And how does that work? Exactly. Like, I'm just playing the game. The same thing that the government does. I mean, they'll wait a few years and then all of a sudden, hey, by the way, you owe all this interest. And it's like, well, hold on, but I never got any. Well, you've owed it since so on and so forth. It's like, plus the interest. Like, well, hold on. But they don't do that back to you. So, and I agree. And I always say that too around, my family. I'm like, I love paying taxes. The thing
means I made money.
I just try to pay as least amount of taxes as possible.
Absolutely.
But if I have to pay taxes, that means I made a fuck ton of money. Like, it's just plain and simple.
It means I made money.
It's just, that's
Okay,
it.
so I had explained this to my wife.
We got
'cause
lucky.
We have to pay more taxes this year than I think I ever had, and so she's like, why do we have to pay the government taxes? Like, we should, have a kid that we have with tax deductions, and we had medical expenses from having a baby last year, and like whatever else, right? And I'm like, whatever the business does as an LLC S corp, it falls through to me personally on my tax returns. And now that we're married, we're filing joint. You can't go off and you shouldn't. It's not a benefit to us if you go off on your own and file your right. So we need to file together, and whatever the business does, that comes down to our personal household. The whole point is that we're supposed to keep more in our pockets throughout the year, better financially manage our money and where it goes and how and when, whatever else. And so that at the end of the year, when it does come time to do the business taxes and do our taxes, we need to show that the business makes a profit, because it makes it easier to get funding when we need it, right? Both personally and in business.
Yep,
which took me several years to realize. It wasn't like, because I love it when people come in and they're like, "Hey, you should sign up for this. It's a tax deduction. It's a write-off." I'm like, I don't want write-offs. I'm like, last year, this year, and next year, I'm like, don't write anything off. Nothing that'll make me look like I'm not making X whatever it is, And so she wasn't quite getting. We had to have a conversation about, like, when the business makes money, we have to pay taxes. That's a good thing.
But
and I was like, it's even better when you know that you have that money in the bank because you properly managed it throughout the year.
Change your mindset. It's a bill. You
That's
don't
all
bitch
it
about
is.
paying the electric bill.
Yeah, that's all it is.
We're not going to pay the electric bill anymore. Oh, great. We'll sit around here in the dark.
Yeah.
We're not going to pay the tax bill.
We pull those
Great. We'll
candles
go
out.
to jail, or
Yeah.
we don't make profit, or we don't have roads and military and libraries. And
Yep.
it's a bill.
It's a bill.
So you calculate that as part of doing business, and you pay the bill. There are years, and it's all strategy. What do you want? First question, what do you want? If you're growing a business that has assets, you got mowers. So you get to the end of the year, and you need to buy some mowers. Well, if the government has a tax incentive that says if you buy a mower this year, instead of making you take expensing that over 5 years, we're going to let you expense the whole thing this year. Hell yeah, I need mowers. The problem is I got to spend money to not pay the tax. So I don't have the money, but I have a new mower, and it's going to make me a lot more money than I invested. That's the purpose of assets in business. If at the end of the year I don't have assets, I don't want to go find a way to buy crap I don't need. So, and I get this a lot. End of the year, you owe $100,000 in taxes. I want to buy a $100,000 pickup. Great, buy it. Now you don't owe taxes. You also don't have any money. You'd have been better to pay the 20% taxes and still had $80,000. That would have been a better plan.
Yep.
But in our heads, we say taxes are evil. They're not
It's
evil.
so misconstrued, especially like, with the TikTok world and the way that the whole
what it
entrepreneur trend that's happening right now. I'm not sure if you're on TikTok or Instagram Reels or watching YouTube Shorts or anything like that, but like when you get between this 18 to 35, really 30 generation, it's really even kind of like a little bit more like yours, but even more so like my brothers below, like 20s, young 20s. They all want to be entrepreneurs and stuff, and they're all talking about tax write-offs. And like someone will make a little bit of money, and then they'll say, "Oh, look, just like what you said, like I'll just go buy, a Mercedes and not have to pay the government." And while there's certain circumstances where that would make sense, does it need to apply with everybody?
Right.
Yeah,
Right?
it doesn't apply to the
But
same
everyone's like,
person
"Oh,
every
I
year
would
the
do
same way.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Things change year to year.
And I like that you said that because I think him and I have learned that because we've been trying to buy houses, right? And we're
buildings.
relatively.
Like I told you, in a
right.
couple of years, I want to buy a whole new
Right.
building. I tried to buy this thing, and I was like, it's not a good idea. It just didn't happen.
But you're just not aware of all these things, right? You just think whenever you go into business, as he's mentioning, right off the bat, everybody thinks, "Oh, you don't want to pay taxes." Why? Because that's what you hear. These guys that are multi-million-dollar companies, they've got their crap figured out for their businesses. And yeah, of course, at that point, like they got enough cash, they don't care, they don't want to pay no taxes, they kind of got it going. But the reality is, for the average small business owner, not paying taxes is not always the best thing.
Well, we hear that about businesses, and that's not the truth reported about them either. We don't tell news that's necessarily true. We tell news that sells stories and airtime.
Yeah.
The saying that these businesses don't pay taxes, they're paying taxes.
Oh, yeah.
They're paying their. So you have a C corp, a C corporation. A C corporation to the government is its own person. You could fire every single person in Nike today and hire all Nike is still Nike to the government. It didn't change. So the C corp is the only entity that is an entity. All these major corporations are C corps. That C corp can make no profit, but all of its employees made money and all of its distributors got paid and everybody got paid. And there's a lot of money that moved around and they all paid taxes. And we go, they didn't pay taxes. That's because they managed the business well and they managed that C corp to as little profit as possible while distributing to people, the people, not the business, the people who were in the business. They distributed to them and to the owners.
Business didn't make money.
Right. So
But
for
the
But
you,
the board did.
Well,
Right.
The
and boards,
employees.
or the employees, the CEOs, all the managers in those companies. I mean,
nice bonuses. And
So
so on
why
and so
be
forth.
why be an S corp versus a C corp?
there were years gone by. You have to understand the IRS.
And this is not financial advice.
Well, the IRS has been around 100 and something years now. I hear this all the time. I want the loopholes. There aren't many. We've been hiring accountants in the government for 100 years to close the loopholes. The where loopholes come up is Congress will pass a law that says this year you can do this thing, and
It changes every
year.
You have to stay up
the
on
IRS
whatever
tax code's over
passes.
2.5 million words long. It's fucking huge, and it's changing all the time. And they'll write a lot. These people in Congress aren't judges. A lot of them aren't lawyers, so they write these things, and it becomes a thing for a year or two, and then it goes to court, to tax court, to the judges go, this isn't legal. That doesn't work. You can't do this. You can't do that. And then we have reinterpretation of tax law. Now that became the standard by which all these cases are tried. A great example, because we have cannabis in Oklahoma now, was Nancy Reagan. Nancy Reagan was a big push for just say no. And just say no, during that, we came up, there was a court case where a guy was selling cocaine, and he got busted. And the IRS went after him and said, you owe tax on all this money. And he said, no, I don't. I had business expenses. Like, what? He's like, I had to buy the cocaine. I had to pay strippers and people stand on the corners and sell it. I had fuel.
yeah, right.
And he won. And it pissed off the administration. So they passed a rule called 280E that said, if you're doing illegal activities, you don't get expenses. Well, Nancy's not an accountant. And she doesn't know. What she meant was if you sell crack for $100, you owe tax on $100. That's not how accounting works. In accounting, an expense is like payroll or rent or things that you incur to run the business. Cost of goods.
Right.
The cost
cocaine.
to buy the crack.
That's the cocaine. That's the bags. That's
Well,
the,
you got to pay for that. You can't sell a product you don't own. So to the IRS, that cost of good, the cost of buying the crack is a revenue adjustment. So you sold it for $100,
You bought it
but
for
you
80.
paid 50 for it.
Yeah.
Your profit's 50. So you owe tax on 50. And they were like, that's not what we meant. Well, yeah, but you're not accountants. That's what you wrote.
This is what you said.
Can you put wages in the cost of goods sold?
Yeah, if they're part of it, sure.
Okay, because that's what we're doing this year.
It depends on if they're part of the income.
I mean,
So-
like we're a service-based business,
But
and
not
I don't
all
have
service-based.
any products. It's all our services,
But
we're
not all service-based business, not all salaries are part of earning the revenue.
Okay, so
So if you had an admin who sat up front and she got paid whether you did a show or not, she is not cost of goods.
She's not cost of
She
goods.
she's a SG&A. She's a standard general
a
administrative
photographer-
expense. Photographer's part of the production. People in the show that are here to produce are part of the production.
So was there a benefit to doing that? Just separating those in chart of accounts? Is it just
Two things.
for cool reporting, or
yeah, it's awesome to do if you're looking to grow your business and you want to know how the business is performing. It doesn't matter tax-wise. They're both an expense that comes out to the bottom net profit line.
Yeah.
But for business, and that's in accounting, drastically different purposes for accounting. Most people are only familiar with tax accounting. Accounting to get you a tax number to pay your tax bill. That has nothing to do with business operations. In business operations, I need to know what cost of goods are, because if I have revenue and I have cost of goods, I have what we call gross profit. Mm-hmm. We also call that contribution margin, which is a cool finance term that I love, because what it tells
I think
me is
I know what you're talking about, and that's one of my favorite
What's that
numbers
mean?
every week.
Contribution
That's how much money
margin
goes in my
says-
pocket.
Well, contribution margin says this is the amount of every dollar that you sell that goes to cover all the other costs. So if I know contribution margin, I can look at your regular P&L and say, here's all your cost below gross profit, and it's $100,000 a month. And I can divide $100,000 by the contribution margin, and it tells me how much revenue I have to have minimum to make no money. So every dollar above that, I make money. It gives me my break-even analysis. So I can look at my P&L and go, hey, if I can control expenses and keep them at $100,000 a month, and my break-even margin is 50%, then I got to do $200,000 a month. If I do $300,000 a month, that all goes down to profit. It gives me a lot of analysis tools when I'm looking at how I'm going to grow and structure my company.
That's not the number I thought. In my head, what
got
that
all
is for
hyped
me,
about it, and he's like, "Wait, hold on."
but in my head, how we run our business for that is, you take your revenue, you subtract your cost of goods sold, and that becomes your real
we're
revenue.
not stingy with this, by the way.
Your gross revenue.
What's that?
Just saying, not stingy with either one.
Okay,
More
I
profit.
understand.
Okay.
Your cost of goods sold, and then we have our real revenue. Then we have what we consider our savings contribution, our owner's contribution,
Yep.
and that's right off the real revenue. I don't care what happens. Like, for instance, today, the numbers are so tight everywhere else, but I don't give a shit. That money's my money. And it's going into contributions, and that pays taxes. That pays the owner's comp. That takes care of
That's
certain
like the
things.
profit first model.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Profit first model means nothing to an accountant or a
Yeah, that's what our accountant said.
or a
He said, I
finance
don't
person.
give a shit what you do.
It's like saying 1 + 2 is 3 or 2 + 1 is 3.
Right. He's like, I don't care.
It's the same thing.
You do
It's going
whatever.
to net out the same thing.
Yeah.
That's
Have
literally
you
said.
read that book?
Yes.
Do you agree with it?
No.
Why?
To me, it's a backwards way of looking at it. What you're saying is I'm going to take my cut first. So what happens when the business fails? You own the business. You still owe all those bills. So you took money off the top to have a net negative at the bottom that you still owe. You still are operating off of the net bottom. To say I'm taking mine first, you can't take first what you don't net.
Right.
So in again, I'm talking pragmatism. If it helps you as a business owner to get motivated to get up and go work today, I don't care. You can name your business Purple Dinosaur. If that makes you happy, do it and makes you go to work. Cool.
Just make sure you hire me and pay your bill.
But as a fundamental practice, me taking my profit first means I may leave a shortage in the business. If I leave a shortage in the business, who am I not paying?
So what about in the aspect of dividing the money between different categories? Like I have a rainy day fund,
Sure.
I have a tax account, and a profit account. So
Checking
to me,
wise,
and
like different accounts.
correct. To me, those are three different savings accounts.
Sure.
I can move those back and forth between.
But they don't matter on the
checking.
P&L.
No, they don't.
On the P&L, bank
No,
accounts.
because the money's still there.
Bank
It's
accounts
still-
don't show up on the profit loss.
Correct.
That shows up on the balance sheet.
Correct.
The profit loss doesn't matter where you put it. Doesn't matter where it came from. It's just tracking, did you make or lose money?
A lot of people have had issues with paying that tax bill when it comes time around because they didn't properly allocate the money around, right?
Yeah.
Or they didn't know how to save that money throughout as they brought in income.
Yeah,
So when
cash
it
it.
comes time for them to grow and invest back into the business, they've put it into their pocket and then spend it.
Yeah.
So
Cash segregation's great.
Yeah.
It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. You can run the whole business off of one account, or you can run it off of 50. The difference becomes when you start paying an accountant to do accounting, do you want them to reconcile one account, or do you want to pay them to reconcile 50?
Yeah.
Because in accounting, people ask me, why do you charge more as companies make more? Isn't it the same work? No. The thing that I'm tracking is a dollar. Every dollar is a headache. I got to track where it came from, everywhere it bounced around, and when did it exit. So if you have 1 million of those, that's 1 million headaches. That's why it costs you more for me to balance your books. If you start replicating that, multiplying that by the number of accounts that you have, by the number of line items on the chart of accounts that you have, every chart of account you add is at least 2 entries, and it's usually 4, because everything in accounting has to have an offsetting account. So if it comes in cash in your checkbook, you just go, I got paid $3,000. Nobody asks where it came from. Nobody cares. It's your checkbook. In accounting, you say $3,000, and I say, from where?
for what?
Where'd you get it?
And for what?
I don't care where. I don't care what yet. Where'd you get it? Did you put it in yourself? Because that's equity. You don't owe taxes. Did you get paid for that for doing a job? You do owe taxes. Did you take out a loan on that? You don't owe taxes, but you owe interest. Everything is it's dual system accounting. So every time you add a chart of accounting, you go, you know what I'd like to see on the P&L? I'd really like to see income by flowers. Cool. We can do income by flowers, but you just doubled the cost of entering that dollar.
So
From
I wanna
revenue
see
to
income
revenue by flowers.
by department.
And you,
So if there's like 5 or 6 departments,
it totally depends on how you set up your books. If you set up departments and you want to see it on the P&L as a line item, that extra work. We have things now called classes, where as I'm entering, I can say what class. That is podcasting. That is video.
oh, so instead of a chart of account, you just
you run a
categorize
different
a
report,
class.
or you do a class, and
That's
now I can run a
genius.
P&L by
That's so much
class.
less work.
Way less work.
Oh my god! Why didn't we think about? Okay, so just
You're not
a
an
month
accountant. That's
You're
why
not
you
an
don't think of
accountant.
that.
So just a month ago, I just hired a new bookkeeper. Fired the other one in December and got a new one in January. Love the new ones I have. The communication to me is like really important. I'm like, I just want to talk to you at minimum once a quarter. Just let me ask some questions about what's going on. Just help me to understand what I think I understand.
Yeah.
And then you're probably going to have some questions too. What was that transaction? What was that check for? Where
Yep.
did this go? Did that a project expense? Just like all the questions that you
Sure.
were kind of asked, And so we got rid of a lot of chart of accounts. There's some just junk in there. I'm like, I don't need that. I don't need to see that. I would at the end of the day like to know what department's generating what revenues
Sure.
to kind of help understand budgeting for both payroll and different departments have different expenses. So like to provide a social media management service, is a minimal expense. Has minimal expenses compared to photo and video production, where we'll need new equipment every year.
Yep.
Like we'll have to upgrade every 2-3 years.
Yep.
You know, we're forced to constantly buy equipment.
So
you know?
these are managerial accounting. We said earlier there are several types of accounting. One's tax.
Yeah.
You're talking managerial. How do I know my business is making money? How do I know which department's making money? If I have a department losing money, do I care? Maybe not, because that one that's losing money may also bring in my highest profit margin.
Sure, it'd be a complementary department.
Absolutely.
Sure,
So
yeah.
sometimes,
Those
But I'm also curious on that
leaders.
too, because I know.
well, I want to control that loss, but I also want to say it contributes how much to the big bucket.
Right. See, I have a couple of those. Like we hate maintenance. I hate it with a passion. I hate mowing, but we take on a couple of builders because the amount of other work that they give us. Because we're just lose a couple bucks on that. Well, we're fine. Like you give us hundreds of thousands of dollars every year in other work.
Right.
We'll be fine. That we're making a 36% profit on all through all that work. So we're good to lose. Literally 2% profit on that. We're fine.
Yeah.
It's pennies. But right, it's
Being
those
able to
things
see it
where-
in your books monthly.
Right, being
and
able to see it in your books definitely helps.
You you said quarterly. You want to talk quarterly, and I've just had a long conversation with a person I've known 25 years now. Called me on the way in and said, "Hey, I need you to pick up a new company we're starting." And his name is Brad as well. And I said, Brad, you got to know we're not a traditional accounting firm. We don't do just tax returns. I don't even do taxes. I don't do accounting. I do corporate turnaround and I do business consulting with a totally different gig. But in our regular accounting firm, we don't take on clients that we don't talk to at least once a month. We usually talk to our clients once a week. That is much different than most accounting firms. Most accounting firms just want to talk to you a couple times a year, file your taxes, and you're out the door.
Yeah.
My problem with that is I love business, and I didn't help you at all. Mm-hmm. You went. What we talk about every period you go, however long that is, that's how long you went before you could make an adjustment. So if you talk once a quarter, you went 3 months before you could see what was going on, and you can make an adjustment. So if I talk to you monthly, you can make an adjustment every month. If I talk to you twice a month, you can make an adjustment every 2 weeks. So if you see things that you're not liking or you're tweaking, I just don't like the way this is trending. Why is profit going down? Why is that expense going up? What changed? The more often we talk, the more often you get a chance to make an adjustment. If you make adjustments and your business stays healthy, my business stays healthy.
You
Man,
spoke some money.
That always goes back to there's one of my vendors, and on their invoices is my favorite saying. And most people just say, please pay your bill as soon as possible or whatever, right? Theirs literally says, please pay your bill so we can pay ours. I love that. I'm like, that's as simple as it gets. Like, if your business pays my business, I can keep my business open. It's just the way it is. I mean, I love it.
I had a couple of friends who profit first. You asked me if I liked it, and I reacted that I don't. And it was from these two experiences. They profit first. They did not understand the point of the book.
Right.
It wasn't.
Right.
But
It's not just to put money in your
no,
pocket.
but they took
yes,
their profit
correct.
first, and they were behind. And that was my point. You took your profit
Before you
that you're not entitled to because it wasn't profit yet. And
It
you
almost
didn't-
gets into that
and you
mentality
didn't-
of where I
Yeah,
deserve
but you
it as mine.
exactly.
It's
But you
time to
didn't
point,
pay people who did do a service that you did owe. So what'd you cost them? That's not good relationship. And if you're that desperate, and I understand that. I've had businesses that didn't do well. Close a business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Square up. Close a business. Cut the loss. But don't keep taking money out while you're not paying those people, because they did an honest job for you for an honest way. You didn't pay them, and you took money home, and you're at the movies, and they're trying to figure out how they're going to take their family to go get groceries. That's not fair. That's not cool. That's not
because when
keeping
you
the
hired
peop-
him, you made a promise.
they perform the service. You own the company. You know that profits are not guaranteed, and you have the decision to close the company. You get to do that if you want to.
Absolutely.
You don't have the right, in my opinion, to take cash that wasn't profit yet and then not pay those people. That's not okay.
And I've talked with business owners
that's bad
where they're
business.
like, no, it's my business. I'm going to get paid first. I'm going to take care of myself.
And that's bad business. And eventually you'll be not in business.
Yeah, I've met a couple of those guys.
All right. I have an ultimate question. Do you just get started or should you be prepared first?
I'm a just get started guy.
Dude,
Yeah,
that pays
man,
outnumbered
everyone here.
every time.
Every time.
But you seem to,
That's just one of our questions we ask like around the end of the show.
Yeah.
almost everybody always says, you
When
should
are
get
you- when are you
started.
ready?
Start it.
Do what?
When are you ready?
Oh, no.
Never.
Where do you want to go?
When are you ready?
Right now.
When are you
do you
ready? When do you have enough experience? When do you know? When are you ready? When's it time?
Now.
Well, I
Never.
mean, okay,
Yeah.
so there's certain,
If it's I got to be ready first, that's always my question. If you're not a just get started and you're a I want to prepare and be ready first, when are you ready? How do you know? When was it time? When did you have enough knowledge?
When do you cross that line?
How did you predict the market? How did you know that this year wasn't going to be bank closures?
year.
I mean,
Yeah.
go do it. Get started.
Right.
Maybe limit your risk. Maybe don't get started risking a bunch of other people's money when you don't know the outcome yet.
Yeah. Yep. Well, and we've talked about that, about just starting, but starting with minimal. You know, like for instance, my business literally started with a $400 truck and 2 wheelbarrows and like some leftover tools we had at my parents. But we got right after it, you know, and now here we are. And it's I'd like to think it's a fantastic business so far. But right, you just had to go after it. Like if we would have really gone through the aspect of like building the entire business realistically and be like, well, we're going to need this and we're going to need this. No, dude, we literally
And
borrowed.
you'd still be waiting
Yeah, absolutely.
to be able to buy that stuff.
Exactly. No, we literally borrowed mowers and a trailer for the first 2 years of our business. Borrowed from a friend of ours who literally gave us work and said, here, take care of this work and you can have the mowers. And at the end of the season, when everything, those mowers broke, we set them back. We bought new mowers. And he's like, hey, can I have those back? We're like, fix them and we'll pay you. Like, we'll pay you the parts as a thank you for the mowers. And he's still using those mowers and mowing jobs on the side. I'm like, that was just a thank you. Thanks for the trailer. We still use that trailer every day.
Most success is sweat.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Most success is sweat.
And relationships. Because we went through this. The $400 truck came through a friend that happened to have a truck sitting in the pasture. The used mowers and the trailer that we got borrowed for the first 2 years came from a friend that we'd scratched his back who knows how many times. And then he just happened to have the mowers and ready to go. Scratch our back. And it's like, it literally came down from that. Just happen to have the right people around you that kind of believe in you even when you don't. You know, and it's just
Totally
it.
agree. Our largest company, the one that we sold, and we finally decided we weren't poor anymore. We started, and it was an oil and gas company, drilling fluids company, and it did
Can I
millions.
ask for the dollar figure range?
What we did in revenue, upwards of 50 million.
Nice.
And we started the first year we did 15 million.
Is it oil and gas industry?
It was drilling fluids on rigs, but we got started with. I had a relationship in the business that I'd worked with several companies through, and when I told him I was going to start a business, his name was Malcolm, and he said, "Brad, been in the industry a long time. We've worked together a long time. Go get started. I'll send you all the products you need. Just pay me when you get paid." I had no terms because I could not have started a $15 million year from nothing. And I had another gentleman who was like my grandpa. Just got to know him working together. His name was Earl, and he sounds like an Earl. Hey, Brad. And I started, and he said, "Brad, I got a bunch of equipment down in Louisiana." And I'm like,
Okay.
"Earl, you live in a trailer house on a pad. I mean, not a trailer house, but a camper on a pad in western Oklahoma, and you're sitting on all this." He said, "It's crap. It's just crap equipment, but you can have it." So me and my partner dropped in a truck, drove down there, loaded a pickup bed full of this crap, and drove it up, and had another friend who owned a equipment diagnostic center, and he went and tuned it all up for us.
Oh, that's awesome.
And he said, "Don't even worry about it, but when you buy new equipment, just buy it for me." So we started that company on relationships. Somebody gave us equipment. Somebody gave us unlimited terms on anything we could sell, pay when we got paid. And the other guy said, "Don't even worry about it, just buy your equipment from me." And we bought millions of dollars of equipment from that guy.
Oh, yeah.
And
you have to.
Oh, and it returned to them. It was good relationships.
Oh, yeah.
Did you think you got lucky?
Hell no. I put in years of building those relationships.
I was
to be ready
just
to go.
about to say, dude, it's
Work.
People don't
Do you
understand
think you
that.
got lucky meeting the people?
No.
So Braden, I'll put this in perspective. The other
Remember
night,
with Josh, we asked him,
Right.
And he was like, it was part work
Part-
and part luck.
Nah.
Right.
It's what you build. You put
So-
time into people, it returns. You don't. The people that don't get lucky don't put the time in.
I will agree. So last week, you gave my wife and I a great opportunity to hang out together and just enjoy ourselves. We have 3 kids.
Was that a good time?
Oh, dude, I had a great time. I haven't hung out with my wife like that in 5 years. It's been great.
Yeah, I
It
got
was
pictures
fantastic.
of them dancing.
Yeah,
Oh,
dude.
gosh.
I had a
Bar at the
great
Brews
time with my
Hotel.
wife. It was
It was,
awesome.
it's
gosh.
disgusting.
It was. It really was. But
I was
honestly,
like,
I didn't
oh,
care.
you guys are cute. Here, you're
I
going to
don't
want these
even
one
care.
day.
I was like, dude, after 5 years of having kids, being busy and building a business, like, it was nice to just be able to enjoy my wife. But anyways, you got me off.
I'm sorry. You were enjoying your wife.
No, before that, there was something. Damn it, what were we talking about?
Talk about getting lucky with relationships.
Oh,
with people.
getting lucky with relationships. Okay, so in that moment, my wife and I happened to have a conversation. I was like, there's this idea that makes most people feel icky. which is it's about who you know. It's about who you know. Right? There's a whole thing. It's not about what you know, it's who you know that gets you in the right doors. And as business owners, we know that's true. But there's times where certain people around you will make you feel like that's wrong, right? And I told my wife after that night, this couple of nights, I was like, I realized that the people that feel that way are the people that don't put the time into the relationships, because you don't know someone unless you know someone. You had to put your own effort, your own time, your own everything into building that relationships. Like if I just met you, there's no reason you're going to do anything for me. Why would you? Now, if you've got 20 years of knowing a guy, of scratching his back, just hanging out with him, whatever, guess what? It's a lot easier for him to just be like, I'm just going to send you whatever. I trust you. I know your character. I'm no longer just doing business. I literally know your character. So in that moment, I told my wife, I was like, you know what? It's 100% right, because it is who you know. And it's not negative. It's how good were you at taking care of someone else.
Of other people.
And if you're really good at taking care of them, you'd be surprised how good they take care of you.
Absolutely.
And that's literally all it comes down to. And
it's putting in time.
That's it. And I think the people who haven't built those relationships they don't understand that. And it is hard to understand, especially like the profit first thing, right? Where you come first. And it's like, you got to understand the full spectrum of the theory here.
Right.
Yes, you're right. It is 100% who you know.
There's a golf quote that says, and I don't remember who said it, but it says, it's amazing that the more I practice, the luckier I get.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It's the same way here. The more time I put in, the more people I know, the more opportunities I have. Number one, to get the right answer.
Oh, yeah.
To call them and say, hey, I got a question. I don't know the answer to this. And them to go, you're an idiot. And I'm like, I know, that's why I called you. I knew that part. So what do I do?
Right. And sometimes they tell you, well, I don't know either, but call this guy.
Exactly.
And that's where it gets impressive.
So we've got about 10 minutes or less left. Do you have any other questions for us?
Yeah, we didn't get into. I know you're in marketing. We didn't get into your industry and what you guys started. What are you going to do next?
Oh, I can elaborate more on my stuff or something in a little bit.
Or I'll go. So I actually got my start. My family started a company in the oil and gas industry back in '47. Did that until probably 2 years ago. That I started a clothing brand, and then I've had a couple businesses. I've had a power washing company, a pilot car service for oversized loads, and then
I had trucking companies, so I'm very familiar with those.
Yeah, fun stuff. That's what my family does, is trucking.
Yeah.
So did that businesses for a while, and then moved into apparel, selling clothes. Tried at that, didn't work out, so closed that, and then now I'm getting into the life and health insurance side of it, going for my own agency soon. So that's a little bit of my background, Braden.
Let's see here. I don't know. My mom would say I was born with a briefcase and business cards.
Looks like it.
That was my oldest daughter, who is also my boss right now, who was calling.
Oh, you need to take it?
No. Oh. She's my daughter. I get to tell her no, I'm her dad.
You're like the roles reverse on this one.
Just because you're the boss doesn't mean you're the boss.
Yeah, right? That's awesome.
Well, let's see. This was probably around middle school, 12, 13, 10, 12, 13, 14. I would do these lemonade stands every fall when my neighborhood had a garage sale. And after 3 or 4 years of doing that, I started hiring my neighborhood friends. I'm like, hey, I'll give you $20 if you run this. I'm gonna go take a break.
Yeah.
We did donuts in the morning from 5 o'clock till 9, and then sometime around 10 or 11, like we started lunch a little early. I would order boxes of pizza, or we would make hot dogs and hamburgers, and then I'd close up shop around 1 or 2 or 3 or something, and I'd make money that way. Or I would knock on doors and sell candy bars that I just bought from Warehouse Market. I wanted to buy a bird, and I was like, all right. I rode my bicycle with the wagon attached to it to Neighborhood Market, bought the candy bars for like a quarter or 4 for $1, whatever they were, and I knocked on people's doors. And I remember people asking me, they're like, "Oh, are you a Boy Scout or something?" I'm like, "No, I just wanted to buy a bird, and so I'm selling candy bars so I can go buy a bird," and everything came with it. So like it's real fun things like that I've done.
It'd be hard not to just go out and buy you a bird. Like that's.
My mom made me work for stuff though. We didn't grow up rich. We didn't grow up poor. We grew up great.
I meant if you knocked on my door and you were like, "Oh, I'm not a Boy Scout or nothing. I just want to buy a bird." I'm like,
I'll go buy you
I
burger.
like that. I'm gonna go buy you a
You
burger
know-
because you just knocked on my door.
I understand, and I would think the same thing. We had a youth group we were taking around early years of marriage, and we were raising money for a trip to Costa Rica, a mission trip down there. And we went into a store in Chickasha where I grew up. It was Jay's Jewelry, and the kids went in there saying, "Hey, would you like to sponsor us?" And he said, "Absolutely not." Of course, we were offended, and he was like, "No way." He said, "You want to go to a mission trip? You want me to pay for it? Clean the windows, sweep the floor, earn it.
Ooh, I like that.
Why are you asking me just to donate? Like you guys come around selling booster stickers. I'm not paying for that stuff. I will pay to get something in return, and you'll have good value, and I'll have good value." And of course, the kids are like, "This is
I got paid my own
Okay.
cell phone
He's
bill
an
since I was
ass.
14. It's like as soon as I got a cell phone, I had to mow lawns or I had to go
Oh, yeah.
water plants
I
or
grew up
take
poor. I
walk
grew up farming.
dogs or
Yeah.
something.
I spent hours on the
Yeah.
summer on a sweaty tractor, no
Yeah.
cab, no air conditioner in Oklahoma, sweating my ass off. I'm on horse stalls. I used to clean out horse stalls on a cutting ranch when I was 12, 13, 14, 15, just to have money to not. We
Yeah,
were
that's
poor.
a job.
That's
Sucks.
bringing back memories.
And long story short,
Throw-
at 14, I got
throwing
keys to a
hay.
coffee shop. I ran that for tips. I worked there for free. I just thought it was fun. It was more of a passion. Coffee's always kind of been a passion thing. And then I've had 15 jobs between Quick Trip at 16 to 20, 21-ish. Graduated, went to New York City, worked for a little less than a year for a handful of different agencies, just getting some hands-on experience. Came back, started my own thing on the side, worked for U.S. Cellular and another coffee shop, and then I quit. I had $5,000 in cash, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this. And so I was like, I'm going off on my own, and then I've never really turned back. I mean, I've had some side 1099 jobs because I had some struggles in the beginning. I'm like, all right, I'm not quitting, but I'm not getting a job. So I'm like,
Yeah.
But you
1099,
can't
man.
turn back.
And so, I
If
mean,
you're an
I've been
entrepreneur,
through-
you're unemployable.
Yeah, I cannot
You just
report
can't
to.
go
I've been
back
through
to it.
6 business partners. So
Business partners are hard.
all the business partners that I've had, they've all wanted to do. I want to stay at home. I want to work 2 or 3 hours with you, and I want to cash in a reasonable check. And I'm like, no, not when I'm busting my ass
Yeah.
at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning trying to cover your ass
I'm not
and getting
carrying
up
you.
at 6 o'clock. Still got kids.
Yeah, I don't care.
You know, and I'm doing I'm managing finances. I'm making sure the work.
I
Gets
fired
done.
my mother. I fired my father-in-law 3 times. I fired a daughter. You don't earn it, you don't stay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why you don't hire family.
You
I had to
know,
fire my
and
wife.
I don't.
my
I don't
mom.
mind. I don't mind hiring family. I also don't mind firing family.
Yeah.
I mean, it's there's something to be done. If you get it done, you get paid. If you don't, you don't. It's pretty simple. And you know what? When I fire my mother, she's still got to be my mama. You ain't got none.
You know what's crazy is I think it comes with age and practice. I would agree because I hired I just hired my brother-in-law again 3 weeks ago. Well, actually, we're going on probably 90 days. And I literally hired him. I said, don't make me look bad or I'm going to fire you. But I'm not your boss. Well, what do you mean? Well, your bosses are over there. I'm not your boss. But if you make me look bad, I'm going to fire you. And he's literally made me look amazing.
Yeah.
Because I fired him already once.
Well, the other side of the family is I know them. I know the ups. I know the downs. I know what to expect. So if I hire my family to do something they don't have the ability to do, who screwed that up?
Yeah,
You.
that's a good point.
Exactly.
Because
I
I've
know-
had to
I know
own
what
up
they
to
do.
that a few times. Like, I'm sorry. You literally told me you were bad at this, and I put you there because I expected you to do it, and I should have fucking listened.
That's
I'm
my
sorry.
wife and I's biggest fights. I expect her to know everything I know. So I'm like, baby, you can handle this. And then she fails at it, and she's pissed at me, and she should be. And I'm pissed at her for
set
failing.
her
And
up
she's
for
like,
failure. Yeah.
I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. I'm like, yeah, it's probably my fault.
I guess
again."
you're right.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, okay.
I love you.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So when are we going to dinner? Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I'll do the laundry and dishes. Don't worry. You want a foot rub?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for like 2 seconds, and man, this is dumb.
Cramping. Hold on.
Yeah,
I'll be back in 10.
No, that's. I mean, and you make a good point. It's just like, it comes down to, and again, I think as business owner, it's really hard to learn that, but you do. And this is one of those moments where people are like, oh, he's just an asshole. It's like, no. And my uncle said it too. I think Chance was there when he said it to me. I'm not an asshole. You guys turned me into an asshole. And he's like, I'm not. I'm trying to take care of my
get it.
people.
And
someone has
I'm
to
trying
make
to take
the
care
tough
of
decision.
everybody.
I just watched a TikTok today that was like, good CEOs have to be able to make hard decisions.
Yeah, I have 3 rules. Every company, every employee I've ever had knows these 3 rules. I expect people to have integrity, work ethic, don't treat people badly. If you're a liar or you're lazy or you're an asshole, can't fix those things.
That's pretty basic
But
shit
if
to me,
somebody
right?
needs their
Pretty
ass
basic
chewed,
shit.
you chew their ass.
Yeah.
And then you take them to lunch. If you have to do that more than a couple of times, you guys shouldn't work together.
Yeah.
It's a personality.
Because
You
the
just
right
don't
people
fit.
will just
And they also said that in that same video that I was just referencing to, he was like, culture will kill your business and or any company faster than anything else. Would you agree?
Yeah.
And I will say that with that is, you're 100% right with that, because working with family, I've learned here recently, like my younger brother has really grown up and we're human. And sometimes we fall back to that, being brothers again. But the other day I said something to him, and he came to me like 3 days later in a very mature way and basically told me I was full of shit. I slept on it for the whole weekend, couldn't sleep. I was just like, damn, he was right. He's 100% right. And that following Monday morning, I was like, hey, can I talk to you? And his face just like, oh, God. But he's like, fine. And walked outside. I just gave him a big old hug. I cried to him. I was like, dude, thanks for calling me my shit. Thanks. I needed that. And he is like, I needed it too. And he's been kicking ass since then. And it's like, why? Because you work with people that you understand. And you know what? We're human, and that's okay. But sometimes, as a human, you need somebody to kick you in the ass and get you up. And
That's why we homeschooled. There ain't nobody on the planet knows when my kid's slacking faster than I do. And I know when you're not putting out. I don't care how smart you are. I'm going to push you. You're going to challenge. I want you to learn.
Yeah, that's a
And
good point.
I knew when we homeschooled, we're going to have, our kids are going to be, they're going to be able. Smart may be innate, or chemistry of whatever the DNA
brain
They're
soup
going to
is,
learn what
but
they need
you're
to learn
going
in
to
their
be
own
able.
unique ways.
You're going to be
They're
able.
going to be capable. They're going to take their
Equipped.
own initiatives. They're going to be responsible on their own.
You're going to be able. Whatever it
Yeah.
is, you're going to be able. I'm still convinced. I think that language is the basis of intelligence. You can be the most brilliant person on the planet, and if you can't get it out of your mouth into their ears for them to
Doesn't
understand,
matter.
it doesn't matter. It's trapped in your head forever. So our kids, what we pushed was they had to read, they had to write, they had to speak. They all. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the book Atlas Shrugged. Every kid amazing book. I love it. It's my favorite book ever. It's forever long. Kids hated me for a minute. Every one of them had to read it to get their driver's license. Get your license, you read Atlas Shrugged. They had to write all the time to the point that they would cry. Mom's so mean. My wife marked up more red on paper than any teacher ever should. But those girls can read, and they can write, and they can speak, and they're fearless at it, and they can learn anything. I can learn math, science, history, anything, if I can take in information and process it and put it back out.
Right.
You can't convince someone of intelligent if you can't speak.
Well, and it starts early.
Yeah.
Starts at home.
Can start at 20.
No.
Not
Well,
as easy
Agreed. Agreed.
yeah.
because the very habitual, the characteristic stuff.
Well, the Catholics have a saying: "Give me a child till they're 6, I'll give you a Catholic for life." And it's a lot. A lot of those habits are formed very, very early.
Damn, that's about as serious as it gets right there. Damn. That's one way to end it right there. Yeah. I mean,
Brad Cochran.
Yep.
dude, that was awesome.
That was an
Yeah,
amazing
it was fun. I
episode.
appreciate you guys having me. That was.
How do we get a
fun
hold
time.
of you?
Yeah. Or do you want anybody to get a hold of you? Do you want shout out? Is there any reason
Sure.
why someone needs to contact you?
Well, if you want to talk about business, that's my passion. So we can do it over beer. We can do it for a fee if you need something done that we think needs to be paid for. So yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Is there a website or anything? Or
Yeah. It's verticesco.com.
How do you spell that?
verticesco.com.
And is there anything that you specifically specialize in?
Again, we're very relational accounting and tax company. So if you want to work with us, you got to talk a lot because we're going to talk a lot.
Specific revenue range or company size? Or?
We don't typically in the accounting sector take on companies more than $50 million a year. Those people usually in-house everything, or they should be, and we help them get in-housed because you're making plenty of money to have a CFO.
So between like 10 and 50?
Upstarts, we take on startups. So
Startups,
we
cool.
have packages from startups all the way up to about $50 million a year. I do business consulting where I do corporate turnaround. I've worked at companies up to $500 million. So that range is.
Now, you seem like a very knowledgeable guy and seem like a man of principles. Is there a certain quote or something that you live by all the time?
No, the three things I told you.
Okay.
Those are very important to me: to have integrity, to have work ethic, and to
Don't be
treat
an
people
asshole.
well. Yeah, you can be an asshole, then take them to lunch. Go talk about it. Tell them why. Fix it.
Right.
Push through it.
Yeah, I shouldn't have to do this more than once.
Yeah.
If we're both given what we should be giving, I shouldn't have to do this more than once. And if I do, we're just on the wrong team. In sales calls, I ask people if we could bring Steve Jobs back and we could put him on your sales team, would you take him? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, you're all idiots. Because the dude was a savant. He was not a sales team guy. He was a creator and inventor. And on your sales team, you would hate him because he ain't going to listen. And he would hate you because he's not inventing. And you'd have a terrible team. And you could have just let him go, and he could create the iPhone.
Yeah.
And you could have put somebody on the team that fit.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's a good point.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us on the Brews and Business podcast. You can find us anywhere you like to listen to podcasts, and you can also chime in on social media. If you have any questions, comments, concerns about what we talk about today or what you want us to talk about in the future, any new ideas, let us know. We're actually getting ready to be booked up through June. I'm working on the schedule. And a couple of really exciting guests, including Deborah Wimpy, the mayor of Broken Arrow, some members of Soldier's Wish, some other cool local members. It's going to be exciting. So we're having some scheduling fun. So, but we're going to match up those dates. We're going to get some more guests in. And again, let us know if you guys have any questions or if you guys have any particular topics you guys want us to talk about. Reviews are super helpful. We have some really cool merch on our shop. We have got some T-shirts, we got some hats, we got some glasses. There's a couple different styles. There's some that are just white. There's some that actually have some colors. Some that have, I don't know, different styles and stuff. So go Brews, letter N biz, brewsinbiz.com, and we'll see you guys next time.